Happy New Year's from the Record Hunter. It's been a while. I know. I got caught in all kinds of projects. My band started playing again. My band Spirit Change. Um, Doing a podcast for a while, and then we do a radio show called Release to Hounds on Lumpin' Radio every first and third Monday. Been caught in a lot of things, and I've been neglecting my YouTube channel. But my New Year's resolution for 2023 to not neglect my YouTube channel and be able to put up a video at least once a week. My first video for 2023 is my top 20 thrash 80s thrash bands and early death metal. So you'll see, this is the stuff I listened to in high school. All the stuff here is pretty much like 83 to 87, but I really started getting into thrash about 86. I kind of was graduating out of listening to early heavy metal and hard rock and new wave British heavy metal. And I started getting, as I was a kid, I just wanted to hear faster and faster, heavier and heavier stuff. So hardcore punk and thrash metal were like my thing in the 80s. So first, number 20, we're going to go backwards. Number 20 in my top 20 albums that I own. I'm missing a couple because I had them on cassette, so they didn't make the list, but records I actually own. And it was a little hard to pick through just the top 20, but I got it down to these top 20. Whiplash, Power and Pain, number 20. This record came out in 1985. Just a killer album. Stage Dive, Red Bomb, Last Man Alive, Warmonger, Power Thrashing Death, Spit on Your Grave, which is killer tracks. Just in your face. You see this album cover? That's what it does to your head. Just it's oh boy, this is a great album. Number 19, Sacrifice, Tormented Fire. They're from Canada, killer band. 1986, Sacrifice, Turning in Your Grave, Homicidal Breath, just The Exorcism, just killer. Possession, killer album. Just killer stuff. Just in your face, killer stuff. Alright, one of the first black metal bands. Bathory self-titled record from 1983. No, I don't have the yellow cover, but I have had this one in my collection since about 1986. So I guess this would be the second press on Combat. So Hades, Reaper, Sacrifice, Armageddon, Raise the Dead, War. Just this whole album is just like killer record. Okay, this one, it took me a little while. My buddy in high school, Victor, R.I.P. He used to be in a band called Dog God. Great old friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago. But he gave me this record in 1987, and he told me he was only going to give it to me as long as I never became a poser. So, Hellhammer, first Celtic Frost. This is just a great EP. This is before they became Celtic Frost or Celtic Frost, however you want to say it. And I always wondered about it because it is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's signed Satanic. And I was just wondering, I don't know if Tom Warrior signed it, because that's what he called himself. Back before he was in Celtic Frost. So anybody know, let me know in the comments. Exciter, Heavy Metal Maniac. What a killer album. Great speed metal. This is kind of like one of my bridges from going from heavy metal to one of the thrash to them. This early Anthrax, Metallica, the first bands that got me out of I'm still into it, but graduated from Iron Maiden and Judas Priest into Slayer and Venom and just killer thrash bands. And then I got into heavier stuff over the years after, like death metal and black metal and all that stuff. But killer record, man. It's from 1983, another Canadian band, Heavy Metal Maniacs. All right. Megadeth. Peace sells, but who's buying? What number would this be? This is number 15. Number 15, Peace sells, but who's buying? 1986. Great record. I liked the first record a lot too, but this one I jammed a lot more when I was a kid. Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring, Peace Sells, Devil's Island, Ain't Superstitious, Black Omen, Last Words, just great album. 14, Onslaught, Power from Hell. What a killer record. 1985. They have a song on here called Death Metal. It's for one of the first times I heard the name Death Metal, except for another record we're going to talk about a little later. Lords of Evil, Angel of Death, the song Onslaught, Power from Hell. Great album. First press on Pussmort Records. Green vinyl. I'm just going to keep going. Sodom, In the Sign of Evil. Here. We hit the three like great thrash bands from Germany right in a row. And Sodom, just killer album. Outbreak of Evil, Sepultura Voice, Blasphemer, Witching Metal, just killer record, killer album. Destruction, Sentence of Death, Total Disaster, great song. Black Mass, Mad Butcher, just killer record. I had a hard time choosing between this is the EP and the first two albums, but the EP is really the band. This is really the thing that got me into Destruction. First album, Bomb. So, Creator, Pleasure to Kill, 1986. This, in my opinion, is the greatest Creator album. Just killer. I know a lot of people like Creator these days, but I love the old stuff. The chorus of The Damned, that little intro, Ripping Corpse, Pleasure to Kill, Riot of Violence, just great record. Dark Angel, Darkness Descends. Boy, these guys killed. Darkness Descends, Burning of Sodom, Merciless Death, 1986, just killer record. And I seen these guys with these guys, Death. Yeah, this is my favorite Death record. And Infernal Death, Zombie Ritual, Denial of Life, Mutilation, just Returgigated Guts. I had a little hard time saying it. Returgigated Guts, great. This is considered the best, or one of the best death metal albums, and one of the first death metal albums. Just Screaming Bloody Gore, 1987, killer record. Okay, this one is metal or hard rock or whatever, but this is the first one that was kind of their first thrash album, their thrashiest, but this is definitely my favorite Motorhead album. I like a lot of Motorhead. All the early stuff's great, but this is my favorite record. It's like a whole record from first song to last song. Death Forever, Nothing Up My Sleeve, Ain't My Crime, Claw, Mean Machine, I like the whole first side, like the whole second side, Go for Speed, Riding with the Driver, Dr. Rocks, and Orgasmatron, just 1986. Killer album. Love Lemmy, man. Love Motorhead. one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. Okay, I had a little bit of a hard choice between this and the first album, but this is the one I loved the most when I was a kid. But I listen to Fistful of Metal more these days. But I guess put this right here because I loved it since it first came out, and it's really the most staple album for me for Anthrax. Among the Living, 1987. Among the Living, Caught in the Mosh, I'm the Law, Indians, One World, Horror of It All, The Imitation of Life, Skeletons in the Closet, NFL, just great killer thrash album. You know, it's like a must if you're into thrash, you need to own this record. All right, we're getting down to the top 6. Number 6, Possessed, Seven Churches. This is probably really the first death metal album. This one's a little older than Death. This is from 1985. This is the song Exorcist, favorite song on the album. Pentagram, Burning in Hell, Seven Churches, Satan's Curse, just a killer record. They have a song called Death Metal. they probably created it, or at least the first one that probably put it on vinyl. What's this guy's name? Larry from Primus was in this band. Now he's in Primus. It's weird because they don't sound nothing alike. All right, number 5, Celtic Frost, or Celtic Frost, however you want to say that. When I was growing up, we called it Celtic Frost. Morbid Tales, 1984, I believe, or 85, 1985, In the Crypts of Rage, Morbid Tales, just Nocturnal Fear, just killer record. I have the EP too. It originally came out as an EP, but I like the full length because it has a couple more jams on it. All right, we're getting down to last 4, and 3 of these bands are in my top 5 bands of all time. But I'm saving that for another video. Venom, black metal. I guess the creators of black metal, even though this is really a thrash album, you'd say what you want because no black metal band sounds like Venom. And the song Black Metal, To Hell and Back, Buried Alive, Raising the Dead, Bloodlust, Teacher's Pet, Leave Me in Hell, Sacrifice, Counts as Bathory, Don't Burn the Witch. Great album. 1982. First album's great too, but this is the one that, this is my original record. So I've had that one since like 85. Okay, another one of my favorite bands, and my favorite album by them, Metallica, Ride the Lightning, 1984. Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, Escape. Just great record. My number 2 favorite thrash album of all time. Not my favorite thrash band, but this record. If every record of theirs sounded like this would have been my top 5 favorite bands. But this record is my number 2 favorite thrash album of all time. Exodus, Bonded by Blood. What a dude! 1985. This is like kill posers thrash on album. Bonded by Blood, Exodus, and then There Were None, Lesson in Violence, Metal Command, Piranha. What a great killer album. Okay, and my number one record of all time, not just my number 1 thrash album of all time, my number 1 record of all time. And I say this because I went to Cruise and Music. in Chicago. I went to Cruising Music when I was a kid, and I cut school, got there at 10 a.m., and bought this on cassette. Then I bought the vinyl maybe a couple weeks later, but on cassette so I could put it in my headphones and listen to it. And on my way back home. So, Slayer, Rain and Blood. This, in my opinion, is the greatest record ever made. And why I say that is because when I first listened to it, I wore the hell out of that tape. It was the whole album was on one side of the tape and then on the other. So, and I had one of those those Walkmans, so it would just go back and forth. I listened to it every day for years, and to this day, if I DJ or when I'm DJing, I could play any song off this album, or I could listen to this record in its entirety, and I don't feel like I have to skip a song. I mean, there's no instrumental, there's no song that's too long. Every song on this album jams. Angel of Death, Piece by Piece, Necrophobic, Altar of Sacrifice, Jesus Saves, Criminally Insane, Reborn, Epidemic, Postmortem, and Rain and Blood, 1986. I believe to be the greatest album ever made. Slayer, Rain and Blood. Well, that's my top 20. Check my Instagram out. I've been doing Instagram for about 2 years now, a year and a half, 2 years, and I just post up records. A few times a week, I put up a record. I got 5,000 of them to put up there, so if you want to check it out, I'm at Record Hunter Collector on Instagram. And I want to say cheers and Happy New Year's, everyone. Have a good night.